Hello and welcome to what is likely to be a fairly meaty video looking at how, as an event organiser, you would create and manage a race sign-up event. So here we are logged into the race admin console, and we are going to go to configure your event. I'm logged in as a Southampton Orienteering Club event organiser. I'm just going to highlight an existing event. You may already be used to this part of the system. The event, essentially for each of our events, we have various areas along here to do with event setup. And we're going to go through these one by one. What we're going to do to start with here is we're going to use this event as our starting point for our next event. And we're going to use this button over here, duplicate this record, and that will give us a starting point for our new event. So I'm going to click on that. What we've got now is a new record, which is based on the event that we just duplicated. So we'll need to make some changes to this. Obviously the date of the event will be changed and the name of the event will be changed. So we're going to first of all start with the name of the event. Just make a few guesses at what it might be called. That's the one I wanted. And we'll go for a Saturday in September for this one. We're going to change the status here to pre-event. That means that the event itself won't be available on the entry system. And also this tick box here, under normal circumstances, this would have been unticked because we probably would have copied an event that's already taken place. It's very important when you create a new event that you tick this to say that it's in draft. This allows you to check out your event and make sure that all the settings are as you want them to be before you publish it by unticking this box, and then it will get presented to your competitors for entering. So it's really important to make sure that at this stage this box is ticked. The discipline would normally be set. It's likely that you're going to have copied an event which is the same discipline and the same event type. The organiser is likely to be the same. The event inquiry email may need to be changed, as would be the event website or web page. I'm going to actually remove the details from here because I haven't yet got final details to link to. Then we click on this bar here to open up the entry and registration information. Just scroll down a little bit so we can have a look at it. The entries open would have been the entries open for the copied event, so we'll change that, and we'll open up the entries this coming Monday. Okay, and we'll leave the entries closed as an open date. We'll put a date in there. The entry limit on the previous event was 60. We'll leave that as is. The entry limit per entrant. So this is where you can prevent somebody entering more than a certain number of people. It's quite useful to have this set at something, even if it's quite a high number. But if you wanted people to be able to enter as many as you like, you could just make that a 0. We'll leave it at 6 per entrant. It's unlikely that we'll get somebody wanting to enter more than 6 people at once. Here we've got the event short description, which we need to change because we're going to be running in Southampton, so not in the New Forest. That can be whatever you want it to be. This piece of text appears in a number of places, and we'll show you that at the end of the video. Event long description, we can just leave that as it is, but again, that's an opportunity for you to describe your event to prospective competitors. We won't put anything in fees description, but if we did, it could include things like an understanding of what the when they would have to pay for debit hire or something like that. This next part here, the event memo title and the event memo. So we've established this in response to the British orienteering guidance that said that we had to, as clubs, we have to provide a certain amount of information in a specific format to entrants when we communicate with them, including when we send them their receipt for having entered. So this text here will appear on the information page on the Race Sign Up website, and also will appear in the entry receipt that the person who's made the entry gets on completion of payment. This is an event for individuals, and for this event, and this is a Southampton Orienteering Club choice, they define their juniors as being younger than 25 years old at the end of the year. So you could change that. Normal circumstances, it would be under 21 at the end of the year for orienteering events. We said here that we'll send an email for each entry to this particular email address. Now, that was set for the previous event because it allows us to deal with entries on the day really effectively. So you can leave your entry system open all the way to the day of the event, and on the day of the event you could come in here and just tick this box and put in the computing team's email address there, and then if somebody turns up on the day but you want to use Race Sign Up to get them to pay for and enter the event, you can do that and your computing team will get an email. So as we're not doing entry on the day, we're just going to untick that. And here we've got the personal timing device type, which for Southampton Orienteering is the e-card. Here is where you can select, if your club's an SI club, you can select SI Dibber. Location. So this is the location of the copied event. So I'm just going to take this out for now because I'm not entirely sure what the location of the event is at the moment. So I'm just going to remove that. And in other options, we'd leave this one ticked, including the Race Sign Up homepage listing. We'll show you that later. And display the COVID-19 message. So that message is displayed to the person who's making the entries. Enter the first person. These boxes are only used if you're displaying your event on Race Sign Up, but you're not using Race Sign Up as the entry system. Now, a word of warning here on this screen, it's really important that you don't at this point click the close button because you'll lose all of your edits. You must scroll back to the top of the screen and click Save New Record. So we'll do that. So now we have got the Sock Park race in Southampton here in our list of events, and we can click on that and have a look at the rest of the event configuration. What I'm going to do now is, having selected this event, I'm going to use these two little arrows up here, which basically will minimize this area and give you more room to focus on the tabs below. So the event configuration is basically what we've just been through, so we shouldn't need to go through that again, but this is where you would make edits to the information as you get the event ready. So what will have happened is that the courses from the previous event will have been copied over. So it's highly likely that you would want to come in here and adjust the distance and the climb, and possibly also you might want to put a description for the event and so on. We'll just leave them as they are for the moment, but if you did want to make a change, you make the change and then you click on Save. Classes, well, there were no classes on the previous event, so none have been copied over to here, but just a word of warning, when you are using classes for orienteering class-based competition, you will need to relate classes to courses. Fee bands. So this is where we set the fees that are to be charged to the to the entrant. And here we've only got, for this particular event, we've only got one fee band, so it's nice and simple. In a later video, we'll show you more complicated fee bands. And just have a look at the detail of this one. So we can see that it's a fee band for the soccer park race. We've given it a name. As it's the only fee band, we're just going to call it main. We've not set a valid from and to date, but this is where you would set up your early bird fees, your standard fees, and your late fees. And you would obviously set the relevant dates in here. You can relate fees to a course and or a class. In this case, we haven't, and therefore the fee will apply to everyone, no matter which course or class they enter. We're not differentiating between affiliated and unaffiliated fees, so we've just put a senior fee in of £5. We haven't got senior novice fee. We have got senior chip hire of £1.50. We don't differentiate junior affiliated and unaffiliated. We've got a junior fee of £2.50 and a junior chip hire of £0. So free chip hire for all juniors. So that's how this particular one is set up. And there, as I say, I'll go through in a later video showing you some more detail about how you can use fee bands. Discounts. In this case, we've got just one discount for this event, and it's a helper discount. So let's just have a look at the detail of that. So this is, again, has been copied over from the previous event, and you could make changes to it if you needed to. SOC tend to give their helpers 50% discount, and they do that using this discount record. So it's got a name of helper. That's quite useful because the name of a discount that's been applied to an entry will appear in your entry lists that you're looking at, not necessarily the entry lists that that the public will see. Also, this discount name is shown to the entrant when they have added somebody and provided the right discount code and saved their record, and will come back to the summary screen that will show them that they've had the helper or this particular discount applied. The code for the helper discount, no start and end date, so it's valid for all the time the entries are open, 50% discount, and it applies to the fee only. There are other ways that you can use discounts, and we'll talk about those in a later video. Standard questions and custom questions are next, and this is quite a complex area of the setup. Race sign-up is very flexible in allowing you to define how you want the entry process to work, including what questions you want to ask, which ones have to be answered, what the title of the question is, any help that you give to the question, and the display order of the question on the screen. It also defines which of these standard questions are displayed in the summary, which is on the entrance page after they've made payment, and in the public start list. So what will happen is that the standard questions will be copied over from the event that you copied. So you shouldn't need to change very much about these unless you're, say, creating a class-based competition from a color-coded competition or something similar. But in general, you shouldn't need to change these once you've set them up for your first event. And just talk a little bit about how it works. But again, this will be the subject of a future video in a bit more detail. So we'll just have a look at how this is set up for SOC quickly. So the first question on the entry form will be the British Orienteering membership number. It's included on the entry form. It's not required. It can be edited after payment. It's asked of everybody, not just the first person that someone enters. It's not shown in the summary, and it's not shown in the public start list. It's called BO membership number, and it's got a heading in these two lists. It's got a heading of BO number. And that's how it sort of works down the page. So this particular one, there's a couple here where the type is summary only. You can see that just there. So a summary only field is one that isn't presented for somebody to fill out, but it's one that's calculated. In this case, the name field is calculated from the title, the given name, and the family name. And what we're doing is we're showing that in the summary and in the public start list, but we're actually collecting the given name and the family name. Here, so here we're collecting the contact number, and we only need to collect this for the main entrant, so it's set to entrant only. It's included, it's required for the entrant only. It can be edited after payment, and here we've got a little tooltip which appears there which says required for NHS track and trace, and we'll show you that on the entry form at the end of the video. Down the bottom underneath where we start seeing the questions, the standard questions which aren't included. So here, if you wanted to include a question, you can do that quite simply. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this, and we are going to include the question about are you affiliated or not. So we're just going to include that, going to make it required. We're going to say that it can't be edited after payment because this is likely to affect the entry fees. I know not for this event, but just as an example. We want to ask it of everybody. We won't put it in the summary or in the public start list. And we just change the tooltip to be, are you a member of British orienteering? And we'll just press return after making that adjustment. And we'll change the title here to you a member of British orienteering. So just coming across the right hand side here, we can see that the type is radio button, and the select options are yes and no, and you can see that yes and no are separated by a semicolon. I actually want to change this because the first value in the list is the one that is selected by default when somebody first enters. I'm going to change it so it's no and yes, and that means that no is selected when they go into the form initially. So you're really asking somebody specifically to say that they are a member of British Orienteering. I'm just going to see, this is display order 10. I'm just going to go up, right up to the top of the screen here. I'm going to click on one of these other tabs, come back to standard questions, and we'll see that because it's now included and its display order is 10, it's right at the top of the list here, indicating that it will be the first field that is on the entry form. Even though these display orders aren't sequential, it basically just gives you some room to make some adjustments, if you like, without needing to worry about changing every single display order. So for instance, if you wanted family name to be before given name, you could change this to, we've got 45 and 50, when it's somewhere in between 45 and 50, so 47 say. Click away from that, back to standard questions. And now we've got family name, surname is on the entry form before first name. Just change that back. That's standard questions. Custom questions. So at the moment we've got one custom question. So custom questions is a really flexible area for you. It means that basically you can add any questions that you like to the entry form to collect from people as they are entering your event. In this particular case, in line with the British Orienteering guidance, we're asking that entrants will abide by the British Orienteering Code of Conduct. We're making it required. This is what's called a group heading. So a group heading, we'll see on the entry form later on, a group heading appears above any question, any questions in that group. And we've got the select options as yes or no. Now I'm going to leave that as yes or no because this particular type of question is a checkbox. So I'm not sure why that isn't showing on there. Let's just have a look in here. Okay, yeah, so the type is a checkbox. I need to add that to the summary page there. The type is a checkbox, and therefore what will show against the checkbox is the first option in the list. So it'll just have a checkbox which isn't checked, and it will next to the checkbox it will say yes. So basically what we're saying is that somebody has to say yes to this question in order to be able to enter the event. We'll go into more detail on custom questions in another video, you'll be pleased to hear. Moving on to start lanes. So start lanes don't get copied from the previous event, and that's because they are generally going to be specific to an event. And what we'll do now is we'll set up start lanes for this event that are in line with the current British orienteering guidance. We just click on the new here. We need to select our event. To give it a name, we're only going to have one start lane, so we'll call it main. We're going to do starts from 11:15:00 until 12:30:00. We're going to give them an interval of 15 and a number of starts per interval is 10, which is the British orienteering guidance. And we'll save that. So the system now has created the start slots for competitors to choose from, and I'll show you how that works on the entry form in a second. The really important thing with this is that once you've added start lanes, you need to allocate your courses to start lanes. In this case, we've only got one start lane, and all the courses will need to be allocated to that one start lane. You can have start lanes. You can have multiple start lanes, and you can have one or more courses on allocated to those start lanes. So in this case, we've got 3 courses. We need to allocate them all to that main start lane. So we go into the edit record, select start lane, main, and save. Do that for all 3 courses. Right, before we have a quick look at the event and how it looks in the entry system, I'm going to go back to the event configuration tab and change this to excuse me, entries open, making sure that we're still in draft there so that we don't inadvertently open up the event for live entries, and click save. Now we're going to expose the list of events by clicking on this down arrow here, and we'll see that what we've got on this page is a link to the race sign up page. So just click on that, and this takes us to the information page for the park race. And here we can see obviously the event name, date. This is the entry short description, and this is the entry long description that we saw on the event configuration page. Here we've got an extract of the courses, extract of the fees, and it's basically calculated that the juniors are under 25 on the 31st of December. Then we've got the details here. No directions because we haven't put any location information in yet. And then a link to the British Orienteering Code of Conduct. So this has come from the event memo field on the event configuration. And here we've got a start list, nobody in the start list. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do a test sign up. Now, because I've previously entered events using race sign up, I've got a few people in my profile already, including myself. So I just need to click sign up here. I get the COVID-19 splash screen, and then I'm in the entry form. And if you remember, we made a change to the standard questions, and we asked the question, are you a member of British Orienteering? We asked it to be required. We said that the default would be no and the options would be no and yes, and the help is, are you a member of British Orienteering? So we will just select yes for that. It's brought forward my membership number from my profile and my first name and surname, sex and year of birth, contact number. So all of this has come from my profile. We'll have a look at what the entry form looks like in a moment for somebody who hasn't got a profile yet. You can also see here the contact number and the address details here. If you remember, we said those would be for the entrant only, i.e. the first person to be entered by this particular login. So this question shouldn't be asked when we, add our second entry, which we'll do in a moment. We just need to look out for that. Here we've got the course in the start window selection, and notice in here it says on the start window select your course first, so we will select our course first. I'm going to be a bit of a wimp and go for the light green, and then the start window. Now we should have a list of the starts, and this is in line with the start lane definition that we made, where we were going to have start lanes from 11:15 to 12:30 and at intervals of 15 minutes with up to 10 people in each window. So we're going to select the 11:45 window. The Orienteering Club here is brought forward SOP from my list. E-card number I'm going to put in as, just put a dummy one in for now. And I'm going to put in a discount code. I'm going to put in an incorrect discount code. XYZ, it was XYZ123 was the actual discount code. I'm going to go for XYZ124 so I can show you what happens if somebody puts an invalid code in. I'm happy to remain on the organiser mailing list and on the race sign-up mailing list, and I want these details stored for future events. And then here's this custom question. So this is what we defined as being in the heading. So basically what they're signing up for here, and a link to the British Orienteering Code of Conduct, which is there. So I've had a look at the Code of Conduct and read it carefully, and now I can agree to abide by it. Let's say that I haven't ticked that box. If I go to save, basically I'll get a little prompt to say, actually, you haven't answered all the mandatory questions. So I'll just tick the box, click on save. So what's happened, because I've entered an incorrect discount code deliberately, it's telling me that that's the case. It's saved the record so that all that work isn't wasted. But if I needed to apply the correct discount, I'd need to go back in and edit the record. So we'll show that happening. So as you can see, because I'm now entered, I've dropped off this list of people that I've got on my profile. Come up here as being myself, on the light green, that start window, and so on, and I've got £5 to pay. But actually I don't want to make a payment yet because I want to correct that discount code. So I'm going to click on edit. And I am going to correct that discount code to XYZ123. Everything else is the same, update it. So now coming down, you can see that the discount has been applied. I've got £2.50 to pay. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sign up someone who hasn't signed up before, so you can see what the blank entry form looks like. So I'm going to say no to a member of British Orienteering, no British Orienteering membership number. Just going to somebody here who's male. The year of birth is 1980, and they're going to come on the blue, and they're going to select the start. Now, if you notice, when I entered myself, I selected that start window, and now it's telling me that actually there's only 9 of 10 remaining. So I'm going to select a second start from that window. I'm not a member of a club, so I'm going to leave that blank. Haven't got an e-card, not going to put in the discount code. I'm not going to store these details for future events, and I am going to abide by the code of conduct. Save that. So coming back now, we can see that Charles has entered £6.50 to pay because it's £5 for the senior fee and £1.50 for the hire, and he's ready to go in that start window. So he's been added to the amount that's in the basket. So here we can see myself, senior entry helper, £2.50, Charles, senior entry £5, Charles, senior chip bar, £1.50. That makes up the £9, and that's what I'm ready to pay. In the test system, we're showing you this test card number, which you please do use in the test system. It won't work in the live system, unfortunately, so you can't get free entries in the live system, and no other card, no real card numbers will be accepted by the test system. So you've got no danger of inadvertently making a payment in the test system. I have to agree to the terms and conditions and then check out. So this goes off now to Stripe. Just quickly put in the test card number and a future expiry, any 3-digit, anything in these two, and we're ready to pay. Make the payment. Stripe is now authorising the card, and now it's going back to race sign up to so that we made payment, and the receipt is on its way. And if we come down now, we will see that we got paid against myself and Giles. We can still edit certain things, so we can't edit member of British orienteering because it could affect the fees. We can't affect the year of birth because we could have entered as a junior and then come back in and made our year of birth as a senior, and we've got junior fees. And we can't change the e-card number because that indicates that we're hiring or not hiring. So, but you can make other changes in here. Cancel that. And we're ready now either to log out or sign up someone else. What we will do is we will go to the event page showing the start list, come down to the start list at the bottom of the page, and we can see Giles and myself are on the start list. So having paid for an entry to the Southampton Park race, I can now find in my email a receipt, and it tells me what I paid, some details of who the payment was made to and so on. A payment reference here which organisers and entrants can use if there's any query about the payment. And also then down below some information about the event and about the entries that have been made. And in line with the British Orienteering guidance, this sort of code of conduct here, which needs to be on any communication to competitors. So that's the email that I received. That's the end of a fairly lengthy video. Hope you found it useful, and if you need any help setting up your events, you only need to ask. Thank you.